Fantastic. Just give me a moment. Sorry, mate.
So you're ready to go?
Yep.
Yep, not a problem. I'm just going to place you through now and back with Ed in a second. So you know we've got you booked in for a 15-minute interview.
No worries.
About a minute before the end, I'm just going to come and give you a quick wrap-up notification so you know it's almost over.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
Otherwise, I'll place you through now. Just put music for just a moment while I get him on the line.
No worries. Thanks.
Thank you for standing by, Moses. You're now online with Ed, and if anyone requires any assistance, just press *0.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
Hey.
Hey, Ed. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all. You have any trouble hearing me?
No, got you loud and clear.
No worries, mate. First off, I'd just like to quickly say, on a personal note, that your music has had a very, very big impact on my life throughout adolescence and everything, mate. I mean, The Distance to Here was one of the albums that really resonated very, very strongly with me, because it was the album I was listening to when I was going through my first puppy love relationship and everything like that. So there was a lot of feelings that whenever I listen to that album or anything to do with your creative spark, it kind of takes me back to that place. So I'd just like to just say thank you for that, man. It's been awesome having you guide me through a lot of that.
Well, my pleasure, man. It's a joy to be able to make this music, and I've been doing it for so many years on so many albums, and have people respond like that. That's awesome. I appreciate it.
Not a problem, man. Not a problem. Okay, so I've only got 15 minutes, so there's a lot that I'm going to try and have to cover in this. So if there's any questions you don't feel like answering, or anything you feel is a little bit too personal or anything like that, just say so, and then we'll skip over it, mate.
Hey, you got it.
No worries. Okay, now, with having total freedom in regards to your creative input now, did you go about writing your new music and vocals differently?
You know, I would say the craft of what I've done on this record is very similar in terms of the core of what I do. That's what I've always done. Being the main songwriter and lyricist and melodist in live, sitting down with an acoustic guitar, basically making the best songs and lyrics that I can make. That didn't change. I did expand my horizons a good bit and work more with collaborations on this record than I have in the past outside of the ones I used to. And that was, I did a couple incredible songs with a great writer and co-producer named Greg Wattenberg. Particularly the songs Grace and Stand. And I also worked with my friend Chris Daughtry on a song called Drink Everlasting Love. And but the general core of my craft as a songwriter, that really didn't change. Of course, I had new musicians to interpret those songs in ways that really inspired me in the studio. My drummer Rami Antoon, absolutely fantastic, and all the guys did a great job. And they're also my band on tour, which we'll be bringing down to Australia in a few months.
I'm looking forward to that, mate. Looking forward to that. Now, when you write, is there a place or even just a headspace you like to be at like yeah, I mean, where do you go, like, physically, where do you...
One of the most challenging things and the most rewarding things about writing a good song is that it's that sweet spot where you're not trying too hard.
Yeah.
You know, but yet you need to sort of be fully engaged in it. But if you're thinking about it too much, you end up writing something that, you know, I don't know about that. The best songs always come from when you're fully engaged, but you're also kind of letting it come to you. You're letting, kind of getting out of the way of the process.
Yeah.
And that was just something that I felt, I've done pretty well at over the years. This record, I felt like the flow was just completely on from when I started to write the songs all the way through Austin and through the early part of this year. I called the record Alive because that was how I felt. I felt like every time I picked up a guitar, every time I, went into the studio to collaborate or whatever, it was just on.
Yeah.
So it's been an incredible ride so far.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I write a little bit of stuff myself, and you're right. Whenever you do try and whenever you try and sit yourself down and force yourself to write, it's always like it's not coming from you. It's like you're trying to pull something from yourself that's not there.
Exactly.
But when you actually sit down and it just start, like, when you have something in your head and all of a sudden you stop and quickly get a piece of paper and a pencil and just start writing. That's
absolutely. And in particular this song Grace, which is the single.
Yeah.
From my record. I went over hanging out with my friend Greg Wattenberg I mentioned, and within a few hours we had the gist of the song, and that was the kind of flow that this was on. It was like it's almost as if you are kind of writing and feeling into songs that are already formed. You're just allowing them to come out, and that's a great feeling to have rather than sitting there scratching your head like, hey, what do we do next?
Yeah. Well, speaking of Grace, I had to listen to it, and I've had to listen to the whole album, and I'm a very big fan of it. Now, Grace, I found, had a very real mental jury and throwing copper feel to it. I can hear it a lot in your vocals.
Right.
And energy, like, personally, is what I got from it. Energy is felt when I'm listening to that song that's so similar to the feeling of when I listen to songs like Plain Lies on the Riverside or I Alone.
Right.
How's the response been to this song during the Europe shows, and like how I resonate to what resonates with me in that song? Is it accurate in any way?
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, that as soon as I started to stream that song on the internet and people started to hear it live, they were just so thrilled to feel that urgency in my vocal again.
Yeah.
That the depth of the lyric combined with this incredible production of the song.
Yeah.
So yeah, people were really, it resonated immediately with them. I've been hearing nothing but what you just said about it. That hey, this feels like Ed Kowalczyk, Mental Jewelry, Throwing Copper.
Yeah.
And that's great because my journey has really brought me full circle through an incredible ride through, of course, incredible years in the band live and now to to this solo record and solo career, which is a whole new chapter, but yet keeping the core of what I do intact and ready to explode into the future.
Unreal. Now, in terms of the ride that you've had now, through your music, I've picked up that you're very thankful and very humble for everything that you have and everything that you're able to express artistically to the world. I've seen, the Live at Paradiso DVD and like just the way, you can read it on you, the people that are there, the way you're the way you sing your songs, it's a humble way, it's not egotistical in any way. Now, having said that, is there ever a time where you sit back and look at a lot of the chaos and misleading structure of society and wonder if there's many people that can't relate or understand how you feel?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think that's one of the inspirations for doing what I do is you look out at the world and you think, man, the world needs more, art. It needs more people on stage sharing their gifts.
Yeah.
It needs more inspiration, sure. I mean, I remember very profoundly, my first concert experience of U2, the Joshua Tree tour in 1987.
Oh man, that would have been amazing.
And being totally blown away by this band's ability to reach out from that stage and connect with people's hearts and minds with that amazing music. And I said, well, I wouldn't want to imagine a world without music and without bands like this. And I'm just going to try to add my thing to the mix, to the soup, And I've been blessed with a really long, wonderful career doing it. And I feel like I'm just at the beginning with this new solo record again.
Amazing. Now, Soul Whispers in particular, I had to listen to the album, and Soul Whispers I think is a great song. Again, I'm taken back to the feel of Mental Jury with this one. But a more mature and grounded sound, very good production work as well. And it's such a peaceful yet powerful song. Can you tell us about the lyrics and what space you were in when you wrote that?
Sure. Well, I think the space that I was in when I wrote that song is really the way the song feels. Very personal,
Yep.
quiet, sort of waiting for these inspirational moments and intuitions that become your art, become your life inspiration, not just your songs, but how you live and how you perceive the world. The idea that, we sit down, put everything aside, take some moments to wait for that voice from beyond, or that they say in the Bible, a still small voice to speak to our hearts and guide us and be with us and inspire us. And so that, that song is all about it, man. And it's a very deep one. And I think it's one of my favorites. And it's actually becoming one of the standout favorites from the fans that I can see so far on the record, which is great.
No, that's good. It's good when something personal actually, when people can relate to that, It's
Oh, man. Nothing like it. Yeah.
Now, you've mentioned that you're going to hit Australia soon. I remember you saying at the Distance to Here concert, which was my first ever concert experience, so it was U2 for you, and you guys were my first ever concert experience with the Distance to Here tour at Rod Laver Arena. Now, that was back in 2000, and you said that a lot of the concepts were written with Australia in mind, being, the distance to get to where we are now and everything like that. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because at the time I was very young and I didn't really understand it, and there was a lot of concepts that, I couldn't, I listened to a lot of your previous work, and I can understand so much of it now that I've gone through a lot more of life. In terms of the Distance to Here, can you elaborate on that a little bit for me, even though
Sure. Yeah, the title of that record, The Distance to Here, being a kind of, obviously a paradoxical statement about, going, feeling the feeling of living life and going on the journey, but at the same time remaining who you are, remaining in some ways stationary. It's one of those things of life where you move through it and at the same time you don't move at all. You stay who you are, you just go through different experiences. So it was just a title pointing to really the present moment.
Yeah.
And what there is to discover there in the heart and in the mind, and hopefully music that enabled people to rest there and get inspired.
Awesome. Now, when you get to Australia, I've heard that you're a big coffee fan. My friend Emily, she's equally a fan of yours as I am, and actually she's more. She looks into it, reads up a lot and studies a lot of what you do and the concepts behind your songs and everything like that. And she's told me that you're a bit of a coffee fan. So when you do get to Australia, there's a little place called Pronto Cafe on Flinders Lane in Melbourne. So if you ever get some time,
I think I've heard of that place, and it's supposed to be incredible.
So when you're down, stop by there and have a coffee, mate, because it's pretty good. But
Pronto.
Yeah, Pronto. All right, now in terms of releasing your first solo project, now, do you find it to be a bit more rewarding since a lot of the work and a lot more of the writing process was just solely to do with? What was it like that? Was a lot of the writing, a lot of the music still, were you a lot more in control of it this time around?
the element, that were most rewarding from this experience were really the new musicians around me and how they interpreted my songs.
Yeah.
How they thought about them. Hey, let me play my part this way and see what you think.
Yeah.
Let me play the drum part this way. Little things that really shook up the way that I was expecting the music to take place. In particular, like the song "The Great Beyond." Here I had this song, and I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
And then Rami Antoon, my drummer, says, "Hey, what if I put this sort of straight, driving, almost dance groove to it? See what you think." Well, I loved it because it was so different for me. And then, of course, James Gabby, my guitar player, put this really cool guitar on it. Next thing you know, I have my core, but I have this new approach to that core that is very fresh sounding, and that was the most rewarding part of it for me.
Yeah.
Was again, the core of my craft and what I did in live, I do now. That didn't change in terms of the lyrics and melodies and just making them the best that I can make them. What really was the most rewarding and fun was having these guys come in, not knowing what they were going to play, walking out of Austin going like, not only did I get a new great group of songs recorded, but I came out with a new sound for those songs, a new way of experiencing the rhythms and the guitars that, I was just blown away, man, and the fans were loving it.
No, awesome. Now, going back to, the past years. Now, I haven't looked up on what's been happening, and quite frankly, what matters to me is what is released by an artist. It's not what happens in their personal lives or anything like that, because that's not my business. My business as a listener is to listen to what you've created and see if I can relate to it in some way. Having said that, do you still stay in touch with the rest of the boys from live?
Excuse me, this is the operator. Just letting you know you have 1 minute remaining.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, at this time in my life, I have entered into a new chapter with new musicians, new partners. I'm at the tip of the iceberg with it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't close any doors for the future with regard to any project that I do.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm so I have this thing where I get kind of tunnel vision
Yeah.
at the present moment on what I'm doing and who I'm surrounded by, and that's where I'm at right now. And man, it's just a lot of fun, and the fans are digging it.
Okay. Now, just the last question, because I've been informed that I only have a minute or two left. Now, The Distance to Here is an album that has very strong personal meaning to me, as I've stated. I fell in love with a girl while I was listening to that song, while I was listening to Run to the Water.
Great.
Meltdown, Stood Up for Love, really hit home for me, especially over time. I can tell that something life-changing happened to you before going in to write that album. Can you elaborate on what that was? This is more of a personal question for me, really.
Yeah, it was just an expansion into the soul, expansion into the deep well of goodness that I feel is really at the core of every human being, and an expansion into that, a radical kind of, step into that, and of course that continues as I live my journey of faith on this planet, and moving into those dimensions more and more, and hopefully having that, express itself in my lyric and my melody, and get lots more moments like the one that you had with Distance to Here. I'm blessed to hear that. Thank you for sharing it with me. I appreciate it.
No, I've always wanted to tell you. I never thought I'd get the chance. Every time I listen to it, it just takes me back to that place. So, Ed, thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you very much
My
for
pleasure,
that.
brother. Thank you, man.
And thank you
I
for your
appreciate
time. And I wish you the best, and I look forward to seeing you in Australia.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
See ya.
See ya.
That is how it's done!